it does give me great pleasure to bring on stage one of our founding members, the Boeing Company, Mr. Dan Boyd, manager, supplier manager, program manager of Defense, Security, and Space. I kind of blew that one, didn't I? I was close, but come on up. Let's give him a...
Okay. Well, that was a very interesting lead-in. As you can see on this chart here, here's some of the things that we make. Fascinating stuff. And some of you have made parts for a lot of these platforms. From the commercial side, F-18, Apache, there's the V-22, Space Station. When I was at Rockwell, made a lot of parts for the Space Station. The Delta IV rockets, now as part of United Launch Alliance. Most of the Space Station stuff and the rocket business all went to either Pratt & Whitney or United Launch Alliance. What's not shown on here is the 787. And a lot of our supply chain strategies has kind of evolved around what we did with the 787. If we go to the next screen. And what I'm going to show here is that supply chain management is deeply ingrained in what we did. 10 years ago, we created what we call a Vision 2016. We said, when we grow up as a Boeing company, what do we want to be? And this is some of the core things they set into place. They said, here's our Vision 2016, and here's what we want to be. And one of the main things they said back then is we want to become a large-scale systems integrator. We want to stop making stuff inside. Now, this is kind of going to go contrary to what we've heard. We were at that point probably, just like Toyota, we were 70% internal and 30% on the outside. And we said we want to completely flip-flop that and become a systems integrator. We want to buy assemblies. We want to bring them into our company, snap these things together. And the 787, the design of the 787 is a 3-day cycle, a 3-day move. These parts come in from all over the world, and in 3 days, we have an airplane going out, 10 a month, 10 a month, on a complete new platform that we've never had before, an all-plastic airplane that no one has ever done before. And, by the way, we're going to put outside on this systems integration the wings. No one ever has made a wing for Boeing, except now. Now, we're second thinking that now and said, did we put too much technology out? Because we're having problems with some of our sub-tiers now because of that strategy. But we began that journey, and that's the journey we're on. And like the train has left the station, and that's what we're doing. We closed down all our machine shops. St. Louis, Huntington Beach, Long Beach now is just an open field. Philadelphia, Pratt & Whitney, which was Rocketdyne, now it's Pratt & Whitney. All our major machine shops are gone, except for Portland, Auburn, and Kent. That's the only machine shops we have left. Everything else is on the outside. So if you say you're going to do something like that, you better be prepared for all the consequences and what happens. Don't grow too quick. Well, we decided, we made this, and that's what we did. We want to be a lean enterprise. Our entire enterprise will be a lean operation characterized by effective use of assets, high inventory turns, excellent supplier management, short cycle times, high quality, and low transaction cost. Yeah, I've been ribbed about inventory, but we do want high inventory turns from the suppliers. Next screen. And this is some of our motherhood statements. This is what we are as a company. You know, on the tanker, which luckily, they had enough wisdom to not give it to France, and we got it this time. So over the next 30, 40 years, we're going to build 767s and make them tankers. Worth $35 billion to us, probably $100 billion when it's over with. So, but we had problems with our ethics getting that program. It took almost 10 years for us to land that contract because we had some ethic problems with some of our people. So that's why they said, we're going to have good leadership, we're going to have integrity. Oh, every year we take a 4-hour class, every person in Boeing, just on ethics. Because that's how important it is to now. Quality, customer satisfaction, people working together, a diverse and involved teams, good corporate citizenship, and the main thing is enhancing shareholder value. I'm going to retire one of these days, and I've got 35 years of Boeing stock. I want that to go up, of course. Well, how do we do that? We make better products. We make products that are cheaper. We get more customers. We get more contracts. That's how you do that. Next. And this, okay, back one. There we go. And this is what we call a closed-loop approach to our business plans. And if you look at this, we want to identify critical suppliers as yourselves. We want to say, well, what's your quality, what's your delivery, what's your cost, what's your lead time? We look at this every day of the week. I'm working on preferred bidders list. I'm working on dollars with BCA, dollars with BTS. We want to get the best subset of suppliers that we can possibly get. I've only added one new supplier this year. That doesn't mean we won't in the future, because we probably will. We probably have to because of capacity issues. We want to look at these suppliers, and we want to value stream map them suppliers. We want to do lean assessments at suppliers. We want to deploy these tools. What's that look like? Looks like C to me. Looks like, you know, all the things that you do in C, that's what we want to do with our supply base. We want to see that they do things like single piece flow and setup reduction and workplace organization. I want to go into place and I want to see visual cues. The saying is, when you walk in some way, it's like the casual observer can tell what's going on. So I walk in as a casual observer, I can see the flow of your factory. I can see and-on lights, I can see visual cues. And now you're seeing a lot of flat panel screens. And we love that, because when you go in a place like that, you just have this feeling that something has happened, because you go in machine shops where you have to basically ski through the place on oil and chips. And then you go in other places, as in Hickson Plating or W Machine, and some of the other places I've been, in Roberts Tool, where everything is, you go, wow, I can see the flow. I can see the cell. And that's what we want to see. We want to see sub-tier supplier integration. As we get on the outside, it's not the dog wagging the tail, it's basically the tail wagging the dog now, because you, the supply chain, are more important than ever. You're driving us, and we know that now with the 787 program, because the tail brought us to our knees. We threw it over the fence, and we said, well, we don't have to manage this. These are Japanese suppliers. No, didn't happen. I started going into shops in the Northwest, and every shop I went into, there were 787 parts. I said, well, okay, what's your buyer in Everett that you've got this contract? Oh, no, this contract's with JHI and KHI. They were third and fourth tier making 787 parts, eating up all the hard metal capacity in the United States. The partners shipped it all back to America. They couldn't do it. They didn't have the technology. We thought they did, but they didn't. So sub-tier integration is very important to us. We want you to become an integrator. As we want to become an integrator, integrator to integrator to integrator. You need a supply chain that you manage. If you manage your supply chain, you're going to get parts to us on time. Just like we just heard about what Toyota does. We want results. We want cost reductions. We want lead time reduction. We want quality improvement, delivery improvement. That's what we want. If you give us that, you'll work for the Boeing company. Well, we go 30, 40, $50 billion a year that we're buying right now. That's a pretty good chunk of change. If you want a part of that, that's what has to happen. But it's not that difficult. It's just that's what we expect. C tells you that's exactly what you'll do. If you do this lean and you follow this wheel around, you'll have those results. We want to negotiate savings with suppliers. That's a touchy one. Savings realized by program. The programs are pushing us for higher quality, on-time delivery, lower costs, and shorter lead times. And that's the cycle that we go through every time we make a decision for a package, for a purchase order to a supplier. That's what we have to follow, and it's getting tighter and tighter all the time, because that, if we do that, that encompasses lean, encompasses everything that we're talking about for the last 2 days. It's all right here. If you do that, and you can prove that you've done this, you're gonna be in this wheel and on the opportunity to get more stuff from us. Next. Expectation that suppliers provide higher value, added services. You're gonna mitigate risk, task. You're gonna have kitting, subassembly, sub-tier supply chain management, demands for a higher level business process integration. That's what we want. That's the secret to doing business with Boeing. If you can do that, you can do business with Boeing. And the thing is, like I said, we've got the tanker. There's other things coming down. We're going to, as we are so far on the outside, our supply base, I don't see that it's going to reduce. I think we're going to optimize our supply base. I was on a team last summer with all Boeing commercial folks. We went to 100 suppliers across the country looking at hard metal capacity, because that's what's coming back from the partners, is all this titanium stuff for the interface of the non-composite wings and stuff. They completely have run out of capacity in the Northwest. They're saturated. So now they're coming down to BDS suppliers in Southern California. Like I said the other day, there's going to be a lot of commercial contracts in Southern California for 737, 777, 67, 47-8. You know, that's the new 747, and even 787 parts are going to come down here, because we've used up our available capacity, especially in hard metal, and now we're looking. And I have a lot of friends up in the Seattle area, and so they use, okay, who can we go to? I said, well, here's my list of suppliers. Next. And this is what we're talking about. This is what the world's gone to now. You've got so much, this supply chain is huge now. You've got, around the world, you've got global supply chains that are feeding off supply chains. And now with us, Boeing, when we sell in more globally than we are in the United States. And as we do that, these companies over here in other parts of the world, they want offsets. If I sell, we just sold, what was that, $10 billion with 10 C-17s to India. You know what India wants? They want 20% of that work. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to give it to them. Because we have to. Because they said, we're not going to buy unless you do that. Korea, the same way. F-15s. We send parts to Korea. They do something to them, not too much. They send them back to us to St. Louis. But they get paid for that, and that's an offset. To continue to sell across the world, that's what we have to do. On every bid list that's over 600,000, and that's every list I have, we have to put at least 2 foreign suppliers on those bid lists. So a package that W Machine just bid on, he was bidding against a Korean supplier and an Australian supplier. So this will be interesting to see what happens. So, but now with that, you have export, import fees, you've got transportation fees. So it kind of puts you on an even keel, so don't be too afraid when we say we're bidding you against foreign suppliers. We're just trying to meet our IP or our offset responsibilities. Because that's the global supply chain. We're selling to all over the world. Now on the defense side, we're a little bit more controlled by ITAR and FAR and all this. What we can't use any Russian melt titanium. We can't use titanium fasteners that weren't made in America. So there's a lot more complication comes involved in this. Okay, next. So, and we were talking about cloud technology. Cloud technology is we're going to have E-enabled suppliers, and basically via satellite and WebEx and all this, we're going to communicate to all of these customers around the world. Boeing has their maintenance programs. It works exactly on the cloud technology. They have a room full of people, and a guy can be anywhere in the world and says, well, I need a rudder. Boom. Hits someone up in Everett, they start shipping parts. That whole process of Boeing and how we do maintenance and the follow-on, that's where we make our money. On the tankers and on the fighters, all that maintenance and repair is huge for us. but we have to have suppliers that make those parts. So this is the supply chain we're looking at. It's huge. And as we get further and further out on this, there's going to be more suppliers all over the world that's going to be competing against you. Now, I want to see you win, of course, but we'll see. Okay, next. This is what I call my green eggs and ham chart. Here we are, really about 7, 8 years ago. We had that little green circle down there was our assemblies. And all this here was detailed parts, clips, angles, brackets. Where are we winding up? Here's our assembly integrators, and here's our detailed parts. As we get on packages, long-term agreements, we're going from detailed parts to more assemblies. We're not ordering brake shoes, we're ordering landing gear. That's the difference. So we want assemblies that have sheet metal parts, machine parts, wire harnesses, whatever, all involved in one big package. That's where we're going. Now, it takes a lot of engineering to get there, because right now, our requirements on detailed parts, we have to move up the value stream to get here, but we're going to do it, because that's our vision. Next. And here's where we're at. No, we're here today, and that's this preferred suppliers. That's you. These other suppliers over here are your sub-tiers, your suppliers. We used to, this commodity here is your fasteners, is your raw material, your 70/50 plate. We used to supply a lot of that. Boeing furnished material, a lot. We used to do that forever. We used to supply you the nut plates and the fasteners. We don't do that now. You need to manage that. You have to take, as an integrator, you need to manage these guys, these detailed parts you're getting from them to build your assembly, sheet metal, whatever it is. You need to go up here and manage your raw material, your fasteners, and then you're going to take that and you're going to feed that back to us, Mother Boeing over here, so we can snap together an airplane. So we can go on feeder lines on the V-22 and the Chinook program. We're 100% min-max in feeder lines. Every part you make for us gets shipped to what we call New Breed, which is a 3PL. The parts are shipped in there, they're put in kits, and go right to the point of use. But that's the way we need these preferred suppliers, and that's what we're trying to develop, is get suppliers like yourselves to realize we want to give you packages, we want to give you long-term agreements, but we're asking more than we've ever asked before. But if you do this, you got some good work coming to you. And I tell all my suppliers, if I was a supplier right now, I'd be up knocking on the doors in Seattle getting more commercial work. The 37s, 47, 777, 67, even the 87, there's work for the next 25 years that's coming out of there. So BDS, we're okay. Commercial has a lot of work. And that's where a lot of this is going to come from. Next one. This is going to be a little different. You see tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. That's levels of where we think suppliers are. Our suppliers here, you know, making detailed parts, make the print drawings. We give you a drawing, you make a part, you ship it into us. Well, we want to keep moving up this value stream. So when you get here, you have long-term agreements. You're E-enabled. You have ERP systems. You're high-performing. You're self-sustaining. You've got sub-tier management. You do value stream mapping. You're lean. You're efficient. You're shipped to point of use. There's where we want you in that upper group there. Long-term strategic agreements. If you can move up this value stream with us, you're going to get a lot of work in the future. If you don't move up this value stream, you're going to go back to that last slide. You're going to be one of these detail suppliers over here, and you're going to be selling your stuff to one of these integrators who's willing to do that and manage their supply chain. So either you're going to have a direct contract with us, or you're going to have a contract with some other integrator, larger company, that's willing to move up this value stream and get to where we need to be. Because we need parts. That's what we need. It's simple as that. We need parts, again, 100% quality, 100% delivery. We have lines that are moving, and we're having parts feed that line, and they've got to fit. And that's probably where we've made a mistake. I think we're too far on the outside, and we're looking at this now. some of the parts we're getting on the 787, we're looking to come back into our composite center because we had so much problems. And on the 37, in the next 5 to 10 years, this is going to be a complete new 37 composite airplane. I think we've turned away, Airbus is re-engining their airplane, the 320, 310 series. They're going to put new engines. They're going to say they're going to get 20% improve it, but they probably won't. We say we're going to build a whole new airplane, 737. That's what the customers are asking us to do. The airline says, we want a whole new airplane with the 787 Sky interior. Have you seen it? It's beautiful. So this is what we want you to do. Move up these value streams, become more of an integrator, manage your supply chain, and give it to us on time and hold the inventory. No, the question about the inventory came yesterday. We were talking about min-max. We tell you we want to give you access to our ERP system. We want you to maintain min-max levels. I say it's 5 to 10. We'll give you the contract for the next 3 years, and we say go in every day, look at our system, and see what that bin level is. As long as it's between 5 and 10, you're okay. Now, can you keep it at 10 all the time? You sure can. Can you keep it at 5? Yes, you can. But we're telling you now that we're giving you the opportunity to, whatever that economic order quantity is, how many parts can you make at a time? Can you make 50? Make 100? I don't care. I want them between 5 and 10. If you do that, and you maintain that level, you'll have a 3-year contract with us. Well, is that making you hold inventory? It could. We're not holding it. You're holding it. But does that mean that that's bad? It might not. Because if we had a better system, we'd have that bin level between 1 and 2. But we know we need buffer in our systems, and that's why we usually have 2 or 2.5 ship sets of inventory. So because we need buffer, because we're not there. We're not on the Toyota system. We like to say we're on the Toyota system, but we're not there as far as quality and delivery. So moving up the value stream, that's where we want you to be. Simple. No, it's not. Next screen. And this is an old chart, been around forever, and it basically explains what lean is. It's drum, buffer, rope. If you've got a stream here, and you just let it go, you're going to have too much speed in some areas. You're going to have too much buffer in some areas. The stream's going to go all over the place, and there's a lot of time to get that water from there to there. But if you condense that down into a tube, and you have, okay, here's your tack time. You want to squeeze it down. Now here's your speed, your closed loop, and now you're going to pull that through the tube, and that's what lean is. In very simple terminology, if you will condense your processes, refine your processes, take out the waste, take out the buffer, and start pulling that through your system, like we were hearing this morning on all those value stream mapping, that's what you did. You took all this loosey-goosey stuff and you confined it and you structured that through a cell. So this is what we're doing. We're trying to get our suppliers lean. We want suppliers that ship on time. I think we're more partners with our suppliers than we've ever been before. We used to call them vendors, remember that? Vendors. Now you're suppliers. And with our suppliers in the 787, not only were they suppliers, but they're risk-sharing suppliers. They spent money on buildings, on tooling, to get the guarantee they was going to get to work on the 787 program. We didn't pay for any of that tooling. Didn't pay for any of the buildings. They did that on their own dime. But we said, okay, if you do that, we're going to give you the work. And we've got 200-300 of them sold right now. If we get the ones we got flying, we'd have probably 300 more sold because they will be that good and that efficient. So that's what Boeing's doing. We're becoming a lead system integrator. We want to buy parts, snap them together, and make airplanes. Chinook, most of that subassembly is made at some other supplier. Again, there's feeder lines on the Chinook line. Been around for 45 years, and we've completely revolutionized how we put that helicopter together back in Philadelphia. Same thing with the V-22. It's all fed from feeder lines, moves down the line. C-17, We're not quite as lean, but at the same time, it's all coming in parts and components from all over the country. So that's really Boeing's philosophy. We want to have a great supply base. I want to be able to put you on a list. I want to be able to give you quotes for long-term agreements. But to do that, there's responsibility that goes with that. We want you to manage your sub-tiers, just like what we've been talking about. If you guys can come to us as an alliance and say, look, we've got plating, we've got surface grinding, we've got machining, and we're all lean. And we all march to the same drum, and we're all doing the same things. That means a lot to me. I get you in front of executives, and you tell me that's what you're doing, and that goes a long way. I can give you orders. And that's what it's about. Because we're all here because you want to make more profit. We want to get parts made, but we want to get parts made that are good and delivered on time. I've got a supplier right now it's a terrific problem because they didn't order material on time. It's got 2 jigs stopped back in Georgia. I mean, you're talking about the bells and the whistles going off. You get calls from people you don't want to get calls from when this happens. When you start having people stand around and they can't move a part because they don't have a part from one of your suppliers, it gets wonderful. So anyway, that's the Boeing story. We've come a long ways. We've got a lot of great things going for us in the future. And it's, like I say, I've been coming on 35 years, and man, it's an exciting ride, I'll tell you. It's getting better and better every day because there's so many good things happening. And like a lot of the companies here that are your customers are suppliers to us because it takes so much to make these parts. And like we were talking about the 37, from 31 to 34, 38, 42 aircraft a month. That's huge. That's huge. That's a lot of parts. So anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I want to thank you because what you guys are doing is exactly what we're looking for. And you could put Lockheed up here, you can put Northrop up there, whoever you want to, and they're all looking for the same thing. They're looking for the exact same thing I am. That's a supply-based supply chain that's lean and can deliver on time with good quality. And if you do any of these things that you've been talking about, you're going to get contracts from any of the major primes. Like I say, we go in, we ask the same questions. And I go in some of my shops, have parts from Airbus, Lockheed, Northrop, and Boeing. It's kind of interesting sometimes, but I said, well, whose part are you going to run first? Yeah, so anyway, yeah, any questions?
Hey, Dan, it's Bill. Nice presentation. And I won't rib you about inventory anymore. Question for you is about global competition. And you mentioned buying from competing against Australia or another foreign, and giving offsets, separate conversation. But just talking about free competitive competition between your supply base, offshore and onshore. What do you see among your American supply chain that in general, with a broad brush, is better than the global competitors? And where, generally speaking, do global players have a leg up on us?
No, we're better. We've been in this business more years. They understand our flow downs better. Now, ISO's not a question. They were ISO, but way before we were. We got ISO from Europe. But just some of the overall quality and how they approach the technology, I think we're ahead. We're ahead in a lot of ways because that's why the partners had to come back to America. They did not have the technology. And we said, well, it's Japan. They've got the technology. They didn't have it. So that showed we had a leg up somewhere in our technology. The way we approach machining and all this, we were better. So we're still going to go offshore, but the things we send offshore are not the high technology stuff because they can't do it yet. Now, that doesn't mean they might get that way. Australia, I've seen some way impressive machine shops over there. They're close to us. Korea, I don't know. India, we're going to start going over there real quick. So a lot of us are going to be making trips. So yeah, that's an issue. I think we're still ahead of them.
Dan, over the last couple days, I'm curious. I've heard you mention Seattle, Auburn, Long Beach, but you haven't talked about the interior of the country. Are your only suppliers for aircraft on the left coast?
No. We have, well, in Southern California, we have the greatest majority. East Coast has a lot, and the Midwest. Around St. Louis, there's a whole cluster of machine shops. Illinois, Missouri, Kansas. Wichita, another big cluster of machine shops. Philadelphia, big cluster. So it's kind of like some of the Japanese, they'd have plants close to them, to the hub. And the same with us. St. Louis, big cluster, Kansas, Southern California, Northwest, and Philadelphia. But we have some suppliers in Illinois. Next. That was easy. Thank you.